Here again, we're going to go through the inquiry lab in our book about modeling percents. So it's on page 97. So if you're not there, why don't you pause the video and open up to 97. Alright, so problem starts off here by saying Jackie is using 1-inch tiles to make the mosaic shown at the right. She needs a total of 100 tiles. What percent of the tiles are green? First question says, what do you know? So as I read this and look for what I know, you can underline it says she needs 100 tiles. Alright, sorry it's sloppy, hopefully you can listen too. Next question says, what do you need to find? Okay, you always look for the question mark, usually that's what they're asking for, and it says there, what percent of the tiles are green? So we'll just say what percent are green. Alright, so something you do right now is pause the video and count in your book how many of those tiles are green. Okay, and then resume once you've done that. Alright, so hopefully count how many tiles are there. So I'm going to read where it says hands-on activity number 1. Okay, it says a 10 by 10 grid can be used to represent hundredths because there would be 100 squares in it. It can also represent percents. The word percent, and here's our little percent symbol, means out of 100. Okay, that's so important. I want you to write it on the side of your book. Draw a little percent sign. Okay, that means out of 100. Okay, just so you know that when we see that, like on a test score, it means we've taken your test score and turned it into a score out of 100. So for example, 50% means 50 out of 100. Okay, so step 1 is showing us, hopefully it counted correctly, and there were 36 green tiles around the outside. So if we had to model that on a 10 by 10 grid, we'd shade 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's answer these questions in step 2. 36 tiles in the mosaic out of 100 are green. As a fraction, this is 36 hundredths. When the denominator, which means the bottom number, is 100, the numerator gives the numerical value of the percent. So it is 36% are green. Okay, let's keep going here. So the next page, we'll go right to hands-on activity 2. So now it wants us to model 25% with a 10 by 10 grid. Okay, if you think you can do this, go ahead and pause and resume it. If you're not sure, just keep watching and do it with me. So 25% means what out of 100? Well, since we know percent means out of 100, 25% means 25 out of 100. So as a fraction, it would be like 25 over 100. So you're going to shade the squares, just filling one column at a time. You're going to shade 25 of those. So I would just go, whoop, I don't know how to make that smaller. Oh, there we go. Just shade in 25 squares. I would do one column like that. That's 10. Another column is 20. And then just shade in 5 more. So you should have 25 shaded now. So it says, what fraction of the 10 by 10 grid is shaded? Well, you could answer this a few different ways. You could say 25 hundredths, since I shaded 25 out of 100. And you may also know that that is 1/4. Last says, what decimal represents part of the shaded grid? Alright, and that is going to be 25 hundredths. It's the same way we would read this fraction here. We write the decimal. Okay, so step or hands activity 3 says that percents can also be modeled with bar diagrams. The entire bar would represent 100%. So if the bar diagram below is divided into 10 equal sections, each is representing 10%. So the shaded section would be 40%. So they want us to model 60% with the bar diagram using this bar diagram below. Step 1 says the bar diagram below is divided into, well, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal sections. To find the value of each section, you're going to take the 100% and divide it by 5, which gives you 20%. So each section represents 20%. Well, I want to model 60%, so I need to think I have 20 plus 20 plus 20. That would give me 60, so I'm going to shade in 3 sections. So I'm going to shade that in. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, as you can see, but I can shade in about 3 sections there, and I know that that's 20%. That's 20, and so is this, and that would give us 60% total. Alright, so moving on to this last page, it says to identify each percent modeled. So this first one, it's a 10 by 10 grid, so there are 100 squares there, so you're going to count how many there are. If you want to pause the video and try these and then just resume the check, you can, or just keep following along. So I can count and see that there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I know there's 50 out of 100. And since percent means out of 100, that has to be 50%. So go to this next one. It's another hundredths grid. So there's 100 squares, and I look here, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there has to be 25 out of 100, and since percent means out of 100, that is 25%. Okay, going down to the bottom, you have, it's kind of hard to see what's shaded there. I believe it goes to right about here. And I look at this bar diagram, it's 100% divided into 10 equal parts. So that means each section here is 10%. So I should be able to count and go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and that would be like right there, 60, 70, 80, if that's where the shading goes to. It's kind of hard for me to tell. So that would be like 80%. Number 4, my bar diagram split into 4 parts, so I have to think, if I had 100% divided it by 4, that would give each section a value of 25%. So I believe it is shaded to that point there, so that section is 25%. This section is really going to be 25 more, so I know that would be like 50, and this would be 75% up to that point right there, since each bar is 25%. So that would be 75% shaded. Okay, so down below, you're going to shade in the percents they give you. Alright, so number 5, they want 37%. Since this is a hundredths grid, shade 37 out of 100. So I can 10, 20, 30. I just have to count 7 more. So that'd be 37%. Next one's 8%, which means 8 out of 100. So simply just gonna count 8 and shade 8. Okay, going down below. This bar diagram here, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, there's 20 sections there. So we are going to have to figure out how many percentages is each section worth. So if you know the whole bar is 100%, you just have to do 100 divided by 20, and that equals 5. So each section there is 5%. Well, we have to shade in 45. So one way to think about it would be like, okay, this is 5, 5 more, 5 more, and hopefully know that 9 times 5 is 45. So that'll give us 45%. Each section's worth 5%. So I'm going to shade in 9 bars. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Really, I want it ended right there. Oh. So I think it's supposed to go to there. So if I shade in 9 bars, it would be 45%. And this last one, 5%. Again, this has 20 sections in it. So 5% would just be a single bar. Right? So hopefully that helps you out. Go ahead and take a look at your Google Classroom to find out what you're doing next.